Good morning, lovelies. I wanted to do some audio content for you guys before I head off to Earth Frequency Festival. So I'll be a little bit quiet for a week or so, but I'm sure I will have even more juicy content for you when I come back and arrive back to normal life. I wanted to speak today about the indisputable importance of sovereignty. Sovereignty is a word that is very much in my fields at the moment. And the entirety or the frequency of the word is still being laid out before me. But I've been having some very interesting experiences over the past week, and I believe today we have a new moon. I'm not familiar with the details of it, but it seems like a nice time to unpack this word and unpack why it's so important. So for me, sovereignty means that I am sitting on my own throne, that I am governing every part of my life, and that I'm the one in charge and worthy of that power. Now that feels honorable to me in my body, in my system. But I wanted to talk about how far that sovereignty can go and how much it can send a ripple effect into the areas of our life that are now being greatly affected by what's going on out there. And I want to also say that sovereignty doesn't mean that you've got all your shit together. Sovereignty doesn't mean that you're hyper aware, meditating for hours, that you know exactly where you're going, what your life path is, or any of those things. Not at all. In sovereignty, we can also have the vulnerability of not knowing what we're doing or where we're going, but we own and hold ourselves as a complete unit, as a being of alignment. We're in alignment with ourselves, and I want to talk about the repercussions of that alignment. So when I choose sovereignty, or when I remind myself how important sovereignty is, I take everything into my own hands, which means every part of my external environment I can now take a step back from and understand that that external environment is something that I'm creating from something that I'm creating within, right? We know that that's a reflective stance that we've been taking and discussing anyway. But where I think people get stuck in old conditioning is they see the external environment as a reflection of something within, but instead of taking ownership and flipping the magnifying glass straight back on them, we are still conditioned to see what's happening outside as something that we need to control. The more difficult the reflection, the more we want to control it. But this is the way that I've come to see things in working so deeply and thoroughly with my guides and working with other people as well. That if you imagine that you're looking down on your life and you're just a small part of that life, there's this huge interweb of energy and connection running through everything. And just imagine that you're at the center and this web just goes out and out and out, all the way out. We're talking about tentacles and tendrils of energy coming out from your being that are creating artistry around you. Now, if you imagine your vantage point is your higher self looking down, your higher self is not bound by time, by identity, by any of these constructs that we use to help us stay grounded on earth in our reality. So imagine that the higher self doesn't have all that going on. The higher self is just painting a masterpiece, moving towards evolution, being that beautiful connection point or that narrative down to what can be seen from a higher perspective. Now, everything in your environment is relaying back to you all of this beautiful information. It's not trying to show you something. It's not pointing out where you need to go or what you're doing wrong. There's a synergy there. So what you're playing out within is playing out outside of you too. It's not something that you need to fix in order to have a better reflection. This is still bound by the limits of the ego. It is more so the tapestry of your existence reflecting all around you. Now, when we truly start to begin to choose sovereignty, sovereignty in itself, the word, the frequency, and everything involved with sovereignty expands awareness. It pulls us out of our 3D immediate reality construct and puts us in a higher power position over our influence, over our governance of ourself in this life. Now, sovereignty is such a big word, such a strong word, that if I am sovereign, I begin to hold myself differently. I begin to feel confident and powerful. Confidence and power on a sovereignty level do not have anything to do with control or manipulation at all. You can feel a gentleness to it, a knowingness and a quietness to it, a stillness that comes. Now, if I am sovereign, I automatically don't need to worry about those that aren't, or those that aren't taking their life into their own hands, or possibly all those old reflections that I was seeing as an unconscious, unsovereign being that seemed to be the most important, the biggest things in my life. I now see were nudges of discomfort into something bigger, into a higher state of consciousness, more awareness, more authenticity, however you want to frame it. So go back to your higher self bird's eye view and see it all playing out in a tapestry. Within you is the power of the entire universe, right? There is God, source, love, frequency emanating from your being. When we are sovereign, our only job is to figure out how we are blocking that powerful energy, how we can be in harmony or in alignment with that energy and that truth, and possibly how do we open up more to it so that we become a conduit, which means how do I turn this love frequency, this God source energy, and create something with it? So most people have blockages, fear, attachments, limiting their fields, keeping them encapsulated in their physical body. Nothing wrong with that. But as you start tapping into your higher self or the spiritual realm or your guides, whatever version of that you're working with at the moment, as you open up your crown to intuition, You are now saying to the universe or to yourself, I allow a little bit more of my source energy to come through from a place that I don't need to work hard for it. Because if you've already noticed, eating the right foods, making sure your body turns those foods into beautiful, accessible energy that you can then use for your projects and your external environment and then get rid of the waste is a beautiful system, a highly intelligent system. But needing to be working that system perfectly all the time is exhausting. Just as much as we draw energy from nature, we have to allow that. It's not that nature only has a finite amount, it's infinite. But if we don't allow it, if we don't accept it, if we don't use it, we can't draw it up. Same with source energy from above. We have to allow it in. We have to accept it. We have to be able to receive it. And the other part of that is, where are we putting it? What are we doing with it? And are we allowing it to flow through us? So I know I've talked a lot about that emotions are held in the body when we don't just feel them and complete the cycle of the emotions. When we are open to earth energy coming up through the feet, it doesn't have to come up through the feet, but it's a nice way of visualizing it, and source energy from above, if you imagine that your body opens up as a conduit. So imagine that I put 2 jumper leads on your feet and 2 on your head, and I allowed electricity to run through your entire body. If you stop that energy and resist it and tense up, things are going to get really difficult. If you allow the conduit experience to happen, energy to pass in and out as freely as it needs to, you'll then become filled with energy. You'll be a conduit so that source energy can be created or transmuted into something else. You'll start using earth energy and source energy for your projects rather than your own physical made cellular energy. You can also use these infinite energy sources as a way to charge your cells, right? It's like electricity running through water. It charges, it energizes, it renews, it repolarizes, it wakes up circuitry, it does all these beautiful things that our body is designed for, but we've just been limited to understanding that we have to make all the energy ourselves and we have to make it well. But even when we do that, and you know, even when you do that, you can still run out, right? Storing nutrients is the way that your body prepares beautifully for everything that's coming. But we need to open up to more energy, and there is abundance there, and everything that comes along with abundance. As a sovereign being, it's your job to figure out or to understand or to allow how to let source energy, abundance in. More connection, more love. How do I let it in without judging it, criticizing myself for it, feeling guilty, giving it away to everybody else? How do I hold it? How do I let my body fill up to full and then I start transmuting it? How do I not let it leak through my fears, through my limiting programs, through my beliefs? How do I hold that higher frequency without needing to give it away to everyone else that I think is more worthy than me? That is the interesting part of sovereignty. But a sovereign being knows that she or he is in charge of all of that, and is worthy of all of that and needs to start working with source energy, because sovereignty requires a higher frequency anyway. The benefits of sovereignty are you can't blame anyone for what's going on. You're in charge. You're governing. You're the empress. You don't need to be dependent on the system or other areas in your life that have kept you secure and safe up until now, because you're taking that into your own hands now. You don't rely on the opinion or the beliefs of others because you're sovereign. You have your own set of beliefs, values, and constructs that work for you, that are in alignment with you, that resonate at your frequency, because you know why you're here and you know where you've come from, or at least there's a feeling there that you want to. It's okay to step up into sovereignty without knowing all those answers yet. Sovereignty is a frequency, an attitude, a choice, a decision, a conscious choice to now say, right, I want this. I want the purpose of this life for me to be using what I have at my disposal to the best of my ability. And what I see in people is all these energy cords connecting to different places, things, events, people, trauma, all these portals open to different areas of their life, to people, the arguments, the whatever, the everything they feel bad about, the huge group of entities attached to their outer fields, their inner fields, their etheric layers, sitting in their chakras all over the place, sitting over their shoulder, behind them, in front of them. Because we are so deeply attached to our story and where we've been as definement of who we are. But in sovereignty, a lot of that falls away. We start changing the belief systems. I'm not who I are because of what I've been through. I'm who I am because I choose in this moment to be someone, to acknowledge myself, to show up to myself, to sit with myself and my experiences, to sit with my incarnation that I've chosen at the time that I've chosen it. I sit in the huge awe, intelligence, and energy systems connected to my higher self that I can't even comprehend right now, that is leaving these breadcrumbs for me to pick up so that I can become more awake and more sovereign and more of who I am. The intelligence of that is meant to blow the mind open a little bit. We have to start waking up the areas of the brain that can deeply understand and acknowledge the extent of how important this lifetime is, this moment is, and our mission here. If the entire mission is just to reach sovereignty, that is a huge pathway of evolution. That is more than enough for one incarnation. But we don't have to go through huge, extensive, hard work all the time to get there. And this is something that I'm still acknowledging. To get there, I ask myself, what do I need to let go of? What do I need to detach from? What limiting belief can I now effectively scratch out and start again? What does sovereignty feel like? Feel it in my body. What needs to happen in my mind to acknowledge my sovereignty, my power, my importance here as a sovereign being, as a magical being, as a source energy being? So we hack the spiritual system around, well, yeah, if I look after myself and take self-care and I learn different things and that knowledge opens up my mind to different belief structures and ideas, and that wakes up my mind. If I sit in meditation every day, I'm probably going to get there quicker or more efficiently. But what if I just put myself in that future timeline where I am already sovereign? What does that feel like? And what do I need to let go of now to get there now? That linear time frame is also part of the construct that keeps our mind in a very stubborn belief that we need to work hard to get to change. The hard work might be asking the right question for us to release the confines in our mind that are keeping us stuck here now. In this moment, in this now, you have so much at your disposal on the other side of what your mind believes is possible right now. And all I want you to do with this recording is whatever awakens inside you, whatever shows up, whatever tingles and tickles and activates a different part of you, just let it happen. If you get a little bit dizzy, disorientated, if your vision changes a little bit, just sit with that. Don't control it. Whatever you feel is safe. Just let it wake up that little part of you, knowing that there's so much more to come, knowing that you've only just started. The level of consciousness you have now is nothing compared to what you will have in 10 years' time. The progress that you've made now is so beautiful. But we have more to do. We have such expansive beauty to navigate. And I want you to prepare for that. And just be okay with where you're at in this moment right now. And let your awareness expand. And let your mind disorientate a little bit. And look at it all playing out. It's this beautiful orchestra, this beautiful song. And sovereignty is part of that process. But it's your choice whether you put that crown on right now or you take some time to decide whether you're worthy of that. I don't mind either way, the crown's coming. I choose to put mine on every day, whether I'm ready or not, whether I think I'm prepared, whether it means I'm going to risk something, lose something, and all the fear that comes up. I'm wearing the crown. For me, there is no other choice now. So I hope you resonate with this, beautiful women. Let me know if you like this style of content. I believe there'll be more coming. And I will see you when I am back from Earth Frequency, and I will definitely see you all for the group coaching call coming up, and I'm really excited about that. So I love you all. Be okay with exactly where you are right now. It's perfect. It's beautiful. It's exactly where you need to be. And I love you all very much. Bye.